Our journey begins with the Metasequoia, also known as the Dawn Redwood, near Benton Hall. It is one of the first of its kind planted in the United States. This Metasequoia fossil from eastern Oregon is around 50 million years old. It is the key to our story. Due to its importance, the Oregon State Legislature in 2005 adopted the fossils of the Metasequoia as the Oregon State fossil. The Metasequoia was thought to be extinct until a grove of living trees were discovered in a remote area of China in 1946. This leads to it sometimes being referred to as a living fossil. The discovery of a living fossil instantly attracted attention from around the world. It was widely regarded as the greatest discovery of botany in the 20th century. It was as remarkable as discovering a living dinosaur. In 1948, Ralph Cheney, professor of paleontology at the University of California, Berkeley, and passionate advocate for the North American redwoods, had been hearing for a year and a half about the discovery in China of trees that had been thought extinct for millions of years. Cheney thought that the key to understanding the ancient forests of the Northern Hemisphere might be found in the groves of Metasequoia in Sichuan, China. If so, it was important to learn about the climate and topography of the region in which these living fossils had survived. And it was important to determine whether the trees in China were the same as those of the North American forests millions of years ago. The Arnold Arboretum of Harvard University funded the expedition to China to collect seeds. Cheney was no stranger to China. He had been there several times before. But this trip to China, which was his last, was especially difficult. The expedition was beset with bad weather, bad food, and political difficulties. Political factors soon afterward caused the complete exclusion of Americans from the Chinese mainland. Cheney often said that he wished he might go back again, but given the political situation, it was out of the question. Cheney himself brought back Metasequoia seeds and 4 seedlings from China. Concerned that his prizes might be taken from him at customs in Hawaii, he tucked the seeds and twigs into an inner pocket and requested intercession for the seedlings from a former student at the Department of Agriculture in Washington. Word did not reach the inspector at Plant and Economic Quarantine in Honolulu, however, and he demanded that the 4 seedlings be handed over for incineration. Cheney's protest that the trees were priceless, more than 1 million years old, was of no avail. The ensuing argument grew louder and louder until Cheney, close to hysteria, was shouting defiantly and citing millions of years, tens of millions of years, 100 million years. Suddenly the agitated inspector asked a question. Are they more than 150 years old? And so, officially declared antiques, the seedlings continued their journey to California. Soon afterwards, seeds were distributed to various universities and arboreta worldwide. Cheney gave 3 rare Metasequoia seedling trees to Paul Dunn, dean of the School of Forestry at Oregon State College, as it was named at the time, for planting on the Oregon State campus. The seedlings were each in 1-gallon cans and about a foot tall. They were derived from seeds Cheney planted in April 1948. Planting occurred in the spring of 1949 at 3 locations at Oregon State. 2 were planted on the main campus and 1 was planted upstream from the forestry cabin in McDonald Forest. 1 campus tree was planted south of the forestry building, now Moreland Hall, the other in the lawn east of Benton Hall. Neither of the trees planted near the forestry building nor at the forestry cabin have survived. But the tree planted east of Benton Hall has survived and flourished. The Metasequoia is one of 3 species of conifer trees known as redwoods. Although the shortest of the redwoods, it grows to at least 165 feet in height. The Metasequoia is interesting in that it is both deciduous and coniferous. Conifer trees bear their seeds in cones, hence the name conifer. The vast majority of conifer trees have needle-like leaves, such as pine or fir, or scale-like leaves, such as cypress or juniper. Most conifer species keep their needles all year, so we often refer to these trees as evergreen. However, the Metasequoia is deciduous since it loses its delicate, feathery needles in autumn. These Metasequoias in China show the amazing colors of these trees. Just imagine what North America must have looked like during the Paleocene and Eocene geological epochs, 66 to 33 million years ago, when extensive forests of Metasequoia occurred as far north as northern Canada at around 80 degrees north latitude. Metasequoia was likely deciduous by this time. Given that the high latitudes in this period were warm and tropical, it is thought that the deciduous trait evolved in response to the unusual light availability patterns, not to major seasonal variations in temperature. During 3 months in the summer, the sun would shine continuously, while 3 months of the winter would be complete darkness. It is also thought that the change from evergreen to deciduous trait occurred before colonizing the high latitudes and was the reason Metasequoia was dominant in the north. This Metasequoia is a living tribute to Paul Dunn, who is remembered by his forest industry associates for caring deeply for the forests. He attended to conservation issues constantly, contributing his time and efforts wherever they were needed. Dunn served as Dean of Forestry at Oregon State College from 1942 until 1955. Dunn was instrumental in obtaining the 6,200-acre Adair tract for teaching and research, and it was subsequently named the Paul Dunn Research Forest in his honor. His students remember him vividly. They knew him as a source of motivation and inspiration to do well. The words of one of his students say it best. He was an outstanding forester, educator, and administrator, but most of all a thoughtful, caring man.